welcome to Extra Holes. This is a special one for me. We've got 3 veteran caddies, 1 legendary caddy, with John Colleen, Jason McDeed, and my old roommate, Kyle Morrison. So what we're going to do is just talk a little golf on the backside of the LPGA, little Solheim Cup, and we're just going to go from there. So John Colleen is in the white hat over here, laying in bed. Jason's down here with the Team USA gold medal winner, and then Kyle's over here in his Olympic shirt also, actually. So John is with Lizette Salas, Jason's with Nelly Corda, and actually Kyle's with the sister Jessica Corda. So there's the 3 players / 3 caddies. So just a quick kind of overlay about you guys. Like, John, we're working on, you just told me, what, 39 years now out on tour?
Yeah, 39.
And are you the longest going caddy right now out there?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, probably. We don't.
What got you into it, John?
Well, I'll do a quick version. When I was raised in Portland, Oregon, and my neighbor was one of those volunteers in charge of the tournament. Mm-hmm. So I went early teenage years. He asked my dad if I could carry the leaderboard sign, and or the list of signs. I did, and then my neighbors went to University of Oregon. Good player, stayed amateur, and I caddied for him all around Oregon. And so I never caddied at the club, and I played golf. I played baseball mostly. And when I turned 18, I went to a junior college to play baseball, and I played golf. And I caddied my first year in 1977. I was an 18-year-old going to college, and Portland was a team event, and I worked for Betsy King. Was my first job ever.
Wow.
So I worked every year through college. We were on semester, so it didn't start. And it was great. And then in 1983, I was studying for my Series 7, stockbroker and a player from Michigan, but she's Southern Cal. Bonnie Lauer asked me to go to Seattle, San Jose in late September. October is beautiful. And, I didn't think anything about it. Then she called me in December and asked me if I'd come to the West Coast then, and there was 8 tournaments. I agreed, and when West Coast was over, next tournament was Tampa. I got my Honda B210. No, it wasn't a Honda. What did I have? A Nissan, and I drove all the way to Florida. I was 24 years old, so that's how it started. Yep. So that's how.
Jason, yourself?
Not John's story. I was a little later to the game. I went to PGA school and worked at a couple clubs for the TPC network. And I actually had just taken a job at Dick's Sporting Goods, doing like their club fitting. They hired like a PGA pro, and I actually was going to lunch one day and ran into Vicky Hurst, who I'd known. She was a rookie on tour, and we just started talking. I knew she was like, had got her card and everything. And she's like, oh, I'm having such a hard time caddying or finding a caddy. You know, her mom was pretty difficult to please. And they were kind of going through a lot of caddies that, in a short period of time. And so, I just said, hey, keep in contact. If I could ever help you out in any way, let me know, just more as a friend thing. We played a lot of golf together, kind of growing up. Obviously I'm much older than her, but we had played a lot of golf in that area. And it wasn't probably 2 weeks later that she texted me and was like, hey, I'm really trying to make this Solheim Cup team. I know you from the past. Would you think about it? And it's actually funny. My first tournament ever was the Portland tournament, and Pumpkin Ridge. We used to play there, and had a really good week with her. And, I had no ambition to caddy. And I actually just took a 2-week personal leave from Dick's because the general manager was super into golf. He thought it was super cool for me to just go out there for a couple of weeks and, just kind of bring him some feedback. And long story short, never went back to Dick's. And I remember getting off the 18th on Sunday at Pumpkin Ridge. I think we finished 3rd or 4th. And Rosie Jones was sitting there, and she said to me, she goes, you're going to caddy in the Solheim Cup. And I was like, I've got to go back to work, you know. And she was like, no, I've made it pretty clear to Vicky that you're gonna caddy in the Solheim Cup. And so it kind of came at me pretty fast. You know, it was a change of careers in a blink of an eye, and something that, you know, I'm obviously forever grateful from Vicky. And you know, and when I see her to this day, you know, I worked for her actually off and on for a little bit after that too. And you know, it was a great career move. I love it. I couldn't imagine doing anything different at this point. But yeah, it was definitely like not in the cards.
Yeah. And you're working on what's this year for you? What number?
I think 2011. So I would say probably 10 years, 11 years, depending on how you look at seasons. But I feel like a little bit of a veteran at this point. You know, I mean, there's a lot of change in faces, but then when Johnny tells me 39, I still feel like a baby. So
you are a baby.
And I was actually honored to come out and actually start with Kyle, actually. And Kyle's now working on your eighth or ninth year. I don't know what number we're at.
I think number 10 for me.
10 for you. And you start off with Mo, right?
Well, I actually came out with Jane Raw, who.
Oh, that's right. Jane Raw. That's right.
I knew her coach pretty well, the head pro at Palos Verdes Golf Club. And I was playing a lot of golf with members up there. And I just graduated from college. And my friend said, hey, Jim Gormley, who's the head pro up there, and he said, yeah, one of my students, Jim told me one of his students just qualified for the LPGA. She's looking for a caddy. And he didn't present it to me, the job or anything, but I think sometime during the round, I said, hey, you know, you should give her my number if she's actually interested, or if she's still looking for a caddy. And I think later, I got invited to play golf with Jim again. And on the first hole, Jim says to me, he goes, hey, are you actually serious about wanting to caddy for Jane? I said, yeah, definitely. And I think he ended up taking $100 off me at least a day. And I figured, well, I can't play golf for a living. And if I could go caddy, that'd be great. So I got the job through him. I think I got fired after 5 events, which made me a real caddy at that point. And then I got linked up with Mo Martin, who was a 30-year-old rookie, which was a blessing for me because she was experienced. I was a 22-year-old that didn't know what I was doing. She could kind of mold me into.
And to this day, I don't think she still's missed a fairway.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great first for me. I ended up working for her for 4 years.
And you ended up winning the Open Championship with her. So that was a great little partnership. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, well, so you guys have kind of now have, 10 years, 11 years, and John, 3 decades or whatever you want to call it. But John, what has changed from when you guys started, it's open here. What has changed from when you guys started to where we are now today? What has been the big thing that you've seen?
Well, the one big thing is the international travel that LPGA does. I mean, I was on the PGA Tour off and on, and it's just a lot of travel. I mean, I probably got you when you were out here a couple times. Mm-hmm. Kind of, you could sour on it if you don't kind of just embrace it. And I'd say that I think the travel is the number one kind of big thing. And then the tour is also what do you call it? It's a worldwide tour. I mean, we got the best players from Thailand, Iceland. I mean, you name it, we got it.
Right.
And and that's good too. I mean, the play top to bottom is it has to be stronger because more girls are really jumping into golf. From the basketball, softball players. The elite athletes are playing golf. What else is there? Travel.
And that's a big thing because 3/4 of your tour is more or less in the States, right? And maybe in Canada for a couple, but then the last part of it's all in without the pandemic is all in Asia. So you girls, you have girls that are very elite players. So you're in situations where they can kind of pick and choose where they want to go. But again, it's a big hike for you guys because when they go over, they might as well go over for at least 3 weeks, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. And that's the draining part. I mean, you think about that too. And when I started, I mean, if you're a sports fan, which 90% of us caddies are, I mean, you're missing October, you're missing the World Series, you're missing college baseball, pro football, NFL. Yeah, it's just, and that's kind of disheartening. You know, you're getting up in the morning and watching it. So it's that's the tough part after all these years. And you know, Kyle, my children are 23 and they're not children anymore, 21, and you know they're their own people now. And you know, Kyle's just starting that, and Jay is too. So you know, that was tough when I came back to the LPGA tour, doing that much travel during this time of year, because I missed a lot of soccer games, but I made up for it. There's no doubt. I'd say that, and years ago there was a lot more 3-day events like we just had the last 2 weeks, and those are a little refreshing after going hard all year, where you know you have a day off or a day and a half off, and that's kind of nice to have with all the traveling we do. So that's kind of what I think, kind of overall, which is
and I appreciate you guys. Well, Kyle and I appreciated, you know, back in the day, because we had no idea where the hell we were staying. I mean, I booked it when we were in the Philippines. I booked a hotel in Bangkok, and Jason, who was caddying for Yanni Singh at the time, he's like, dude, we're like 3 hours from Bangkok. Where the hell are you going? Like, we're in this. So, I mean, I love the brotherhood, because he's like, dude, we're going to cancel this and we're going to go get this hotel. I've stayed there before. You're safe. Like, but that's the other thing. And now you guys are doing Airbnbs and you're doing VRBOs, like that stuff. We were just in, Kyle had us in the most choke and puke, ugliest goddamn hotels that smelled like dog piss half the time.
I still stay in the cheapest places, man.
Yeah.
You're only
Like
there
Pete,
one night, right? So, yeah. But as Jason, is that what was the changes you've seen actually in your 11 years?
I think definitely, like John touched on, the strength of the girls has gotten a lot better. I feel like, you know, to make a top 10 or to contend in the tournament, the golf has to be pretty flawless. Not discrediting anything on the previous generations, but I think, you know, John could probably touch on it a little more. But I mean, when I first came out, it was Imi Azato and Yanni Singh, and it felt like they won every other week.
Mm-hmm.
The same probably still can be said for girls that win a lot out here, but I still feel like it's just, you have to play almost perfect golf to win. And especially to make a top 10, it's tough. And I feel like the 4-day events obviously add to that too as well, because obviously there's more golf to be played. So you got to play, you know, 72 instead of 54. You got to play even 18 more perfect holes. And I just feel like there's a lot more girls that are able to do that now.
Yeah. So Kyle, and you guys can just add on to this. The prep that you guys have done in the last 10 years when it comes to the golf course, like, has that changed? Are the books better, or are you guys still having to go out and do a lot of prep? Because I knew that my old boss asked me to do a lot of prep. So, you know, I don't know what it's like for nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a change with the greens books in the last, 5 years or so. They've gotten just next level good. There's probably a little bit less double checking of the numbers that are in the book. It's more of, you're looking at this yardage book, trying to digest what numbers are actually useful for you. So many numbers in them these days. And coming up with a game plan. We're still walking the courses every week, coming up with a game plan for our players. But especially with the greens books, they help so much for the approach shots. Oh, is it to the top of this ridge? What is it to the back edge of this green? There's less stepping those numbers off as we walk the golf course, because we have the information in the greens book. Oh, how steep is that slope up at the pin? Is this wedge shot gonna rip back off of a 3% slope, or is it pretty flat up there? Is it probably just gonna stick?
So talking about the green books, guys, I know the PGA Tour is doing not going to have them. Are you guys the same way? You following suit?
I doubt it. I really can't see it. I think it's a player vote.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We
So
haven't
one of
heard.
the interesting things about all the three of you too is Solheim Cup. You've actually caddied on the European side, right, and the American side, or is that true, John? Have you?
Just those two.
Those two, okay.
Yeah.
So Kyle and Jason, what is it like being on the European side versus the American side? And I know, Jason, you've got a European player in the background there, so I don't know how you ever want to handle that, but
Yeah.
is it a different vibe? Is it or is it kind of like the same thing, just wearing another uniform?
Europe's parties are better.
I was gonna say, I think it's a little different vibe. I feel like, a lot can be said about that kind of that underdog role that Europe loves to play on both the Solheim and the Ryder Cup. So I feel like there's definitely a lot more pressure when you caddy on the American side, because obviously on paper and the talent level on the American side always seems to be a little bit deeper and better. But I think that comes with a lot of expectation and a little pressure. I feel like the Europeans, the teams that I've been on, have been a little bit more relaxed. The pairings come a lot easier, I think it's for us as a caddy, like we're under pressure no matter what, the Europeans maybe tend to be a little bit harder to work for too, because they're a little bit more feisty. So, a little bit more, but I think the vibe is similar, but I still think it's a little bit easier to caddy on the European side, I would say, my opinion.
Kyle?
The Europeans throw better parties. I mean, that's the number one difference in my mind. They sing more on the buses, and and they throw better.
So do you guys did you guys feel more pressure when you're a caddy on whatever team, but if it was a home versus away?
Johnny? What was that again?
Johnny never did the Solheim Cup, right? Or did you do the Solheim? Yeah, you've done Americans. You've done the American Solheim. I mean, do you feel like
only about everyone?
There's more. 39 years. I would hope you had. How many have you caddied in? Like
everyone, John.
I think 13 or 14 out of the 18.
And it's always been American, right?
Yeah, I had Arthur 1 year, and I got fired right before the Solheim.
Oh, did you?
Okay. Yeah.
So did when it's on home soil, being European or it just like Jason, you talked about a little bit more pressure. Is it you feel more pressure when it's a home match than away?
Me personally, no. Well, maybe a little bit more home, because when you're away team, you have to really kind of stick together, and there's a small group of if it's Euros or they stick together and you hear them. And like this year is pretty loud. Toledo was awesome for US.
Yeah.
And we just didn't, finish it off but they were awesome with COVID. If there was 30,000 out there, what do you guys think? There was 2,000 Euro fans, maybe 3. So we definitely had the numbers. Maybe there's more pressure. Maybe you get a little bit more cotton mouth because they're screaming USA all the time. And, and you want to really want to pull it off for the players and the fans. I think us personally as caddies, we just try to do our job. We're there to win. There's no doubt. And But at the end of the day, you tip the hat to whoever wins.
I've actually thought the last 2 venues in the US were great, right? The other one was in Iowa, I think it was.
Yeah. The Midwest is like, you just saw it with Whistling Straits. It's already going back to Hazeltine. There's something about that Midwest kind of team atmosphere that on both Ryder Cup and Solheim, I think they just get the best fans.
Yeah.
I know you guys have had great matches. I know, Kyle, when you were at Anna, like you had Alexi, I think you guys went all the way down to the 18th hole or whatever. And it was, but I remember, like, do you guys remember any like matches that really kind of stand out or any stories that you've experienced that are, you'd like to share with the fans or anything like that? Anything that kind of pops out?
I have a lot of matches. I think, well, I did the first one, and I think one thing that really stood out was, if you kind of look at me back then, it was only 8. The first year was 8 on each team. And the Euros were really young, and you could see they're talented, but they had Laura Davies, they had Helen Alfredson, Lisa Lott Neumann, Allison Nicholas. They had some future, Euro Hall of Famers, right? but the LPGA was Patty Sheehan, Beth Daniel, Betsy King, Pat Bradley. It was stacked, right? And the thing I remember vividly, a couple of them was like some of the matches, even the alternating shots, it was over early, and Pat Bradley, I think she closed out her match on the 10th hole. In the first Solheim Cup. You have to look it up. Either 10 or 11, but I think it was the 10th hole.
Like so I remember those deal.
Yeah, so I remember that vividly. And then I remember Meg Mallon in 1998 when she was the anchor match. Judy Rankin put Meg as a veteran back there. If something happened, they could rely on her. And I remember Meg, because that was my third one. We looked at each other. She looked at me and she go, "All right, Johnny." And this is, I kind of reiterated to the boys this week, we got to focus on our match, right? Simple as that. We look at the scoreboard. We don't look at the scoreboard because if it comes down to anything. So I've kind of kept that for the last 23 years. If you don't take care of your match, doesn't matter what, anybody else does. And so we were the anchor match and we clinched it, and you had to continue playing your match. And Meg she might have been 3 up at the turn, and we played Sophie Gustafsson, and at the end Meg came up to 18th hole, picked her ball up and conceded the hole, so Sophie got a half. And I thought that was pretty, I think that's probably hasn't been told a lot about Meg's good heart and her how she really handled the Solheim Cup, because it was Sophie's first Solheim, and so Sophie had her speech impediment, and she wanted her to really kind of in the moment. So I think, I've had a lot of great memories, and I think that was one of them that stands out. So
Jason, what comes to mind with you?
I'm not one to talk. I think I'm 0 for 4, 0 for 5 in the Solheim Cup. So my
0 for 3 here.
Yeah, my memories seem to be a little jaded, but I think some of the golf that Jess and Nelly first played at Glen Eagles 2 years ago when they played alternate shot, it was some of the best golf. Glen Eagles was a tough golf course, and unfortunately, I had to play my fiance in one of the matches. And
that's right.
And then playing Carlotta and Bronte, who, arguably was their kind of hottest team at that moment. I think we won 6 and 5 and 6 and 4 in alternate shot. Jess and Nelly, when they start playing alternate shot together, it's almost like the same golfer playing the same shot. And I thought that was some of the best golf I've ever seen them both play. This last time, I felt like the fans really kind of stood out. Like Johnny said, I think it's such a fun event. Obviously, I want to win one so bad. And at this point, it's gotten kind of more like mental for me and Kyle, because we just kind of joke around each other that, maybe we'll just go on opposite teams and then one of us will kind of win one. But I'd love to experience it. But I think just being there and feeling the adrenaline of the Solheim Cup is definitely one of the perks of the LPGA.
So Kyle, you have is a couple majors under your belt now, or just one? Couple,
2,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the feeling of the pressure of the Ryder Cup and making decisions, do you find that kind of the same feeling about going down the stretch of a major championship, or is it completely different feeling because it's more match play than it is stroke play? You're like, okay, we can play aggressive here. If it doesn't work out, we're 1 up or whatever. Do you feel the pressure is completely different from caddying in a major versus a Solheim Cup match?
I think caddying in the Solheim Cup definitely feels, any match you're in at any hole, it feels like you're coming down the stretch of a tournament. Playing match play, it's tough to win a hole, right? It's tough to close out any match. So that feeling of trying to close out a tournament is very similar to winning a hole. It's like every shot matters, every decision matters, and so you handle it the same way.
Gotcha. So Jason, congratulations on the gold medal this year. That must have been a fun time. I know Kyle, you've been in the Olympics too. You were in Brazil, right?
Yeah, both of them. And USA.
sorry,
Or I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Tokyo too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jason, she gets to wear this gorgeous gold medal. What do you get? You get an
Handshake at the
attaboy?
door. Yeah,
attaboy?
attaboy. I obviously get the Caddie trophy on the 18th, the flag, and
Okay.
I was lucky enough to get a couple kind of memorabilia things. I got some tee markers from a really nice rules official, and bought some memorabilia at the airport. But I think the memory of just being there and watching kind of the flag get raised. I know there wasn't a lot of people around, but having Carol there with me, obviously her sister Jess was there with us. I mean, it was something that you probably will never forget. And I feel like now that it's kind of sunk in a little bit more, it's obviously the major championships are what we play for, and I hope golf does stay in the Olympics, because I really do think it's really cool for golf to be there on that kind of worldwide stage, and for her to be that young and to represent America, me being an American, was definitely one of probably the highlight of my caddy career. So,
and I know that Kyle, you got to go to Brazil. You got to go to see all the events and kind of stuff. You guys were kind of out there, weren't you? Weren't you like a couple hour away or something like that? Were you able in Tokyo to go watch events and stuff like that?
Tokyo, we weren't allowed to go to any other events, unfortunately, with all the COVID restrictions. We weren't too far away from the Olympic Village and some of the other events, but in the Olympic Village, we Team USA Golf, for the most part, all stayed at the same hotel. What was cool is we went a few days early and we got to hang out and rub shoulders with, Justin Thomas, Morikawa, and Patrick Reed and their caddies. So it was cool. We don't often get to hang out with those guys.
Right.
So just a couple days, we went a couple days early to watch them play, and then we're having team dinners with them. It was cool to get to know them.
Awesome. Well, I know it's a late night for you guys. I know, Jason, you got early morning. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on board and kind of giving us some background of what's behind the scenes. And, I look forward to doing this again down the road. And, I know Kyle, I'll see him here and there, but if you guys are ever on the West Coast, don't hesitate to reach out, because, I'd like to have a beer with you guys for sure. So I miss you guys.
Miss you too, Johnny.
Yeah,
Thanks
Johnny.
for having us.
All right.
Miss you, bud.
What's that?
Good.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks,
You
John.
got it. Take
See you,
care,
buddy.
guys. Enjoy.
Peace.
Good luck
See ya.
this week. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.